Hey guys, hey guys, hey guys, hey, 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 hey. Hello, foodie booties. Hey everybody, it's me, Zach. This is Judy, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we are going to be talking about the one, the only, Chantal Murray, Chantal Show, Chantopolis, Big Beautiful Me, the daily Chantal, the monthly Chantal, the yearly Chantal, the 24 hours a day live streaming Chantal, the one, the only Foodie Beauty. Yeah. So, listen. Honestly, as y'all know, I did take like a week off from like posting any kind of content, and in general, like I occasionally was checking in on what Chantal was doing, but also like as you all know, she literally live streams like almost all hours of the day with like breaks here and there. I mean, it's not literally all hours of the day, okay? Like she does have time off screen, but it certainly feels like if you're trying to keep up that like you would literally have to set aside like all of your time to just drop everything at any given moment to go and watch what she's doing on the live streams. And so I'm honestly, quite honestly, I'm behind. I don't have all the tea, all the drama, all the gossip, all the whoever, the whatever. But I do know what happened last night because I'm back to work, baby. I'm back and I'm here, and we're gonna talk a little bit about the events of last night, specifically some cops showed up at her house while she was live streaming. I want to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to give you an overview of what happened. This isn't going to be like a true reaction. I mean, people are going to call me a reaction channel regardless, but like sometimes my videos are not truly reactions. Sometimes what people call reaction videos are not reactions. It's more like commentary. But maybe that's just like a little nitpicky thing that I that I have feelings about, because everybody's always like, I love your reactions. I'm like literally like on the video I posted yesterday of me making slushies. Okay, like that's not a reaction, that's just me making a slushie. But I digress. That's not really the point of this video now, is it? It isn't. It is not. It is not at all. So I will leave some timestamps down below for you. So if you only want to see like the news about what happened, you can do that. If you want to see like my opinions on what happened, you can see that. I know sometimes y'all appreciate those kinds of timestamps, and listen, I'm here to please. I'm here to please y'all. So let's just jump in real quick right away to kind of what happened. So things started with a live stream. Actually, it was like a 3-hour long live stream, and to my opinion, nothing really happened till the very end. But she started with a live stream called Get Ready With Me Cook. At the very end, Pete's comes in and they are both talking to the audience, and she's cooking, and you hear a knock on the door. She mutes the stream and ends the stream abruptly.
Her regular attacks weren't good, but she had a couple of really strong magic attacks. So Peach kicks ass. I did play Super Mario Galaxy way back.
What are you doing?
Moving my
Wait. Hey, how's it going? Good. Are you the only resident that lives here?
No, I live here with
Okay, what's your reason?
So I think for a while people were like, oh my god, what happened? What's going on? Who was that? A lot of people at the time were speculating that it was her having the cops called to her house. So, you know, they're like, oh my gosh, what's going on? What's happening? Is she okay? Which I think is like a fair question to ask. Like that is a very scary situation. And she comes back with a live stream called Beezin, which is like the name of like, I would say at least 75% of her live streams at this point. But she comes back with a live stream called Beezin. And in it, I just want to say, like, I'll show you some like clips, I mean, throughout this whole thing that I think will highlight what I'm about to say, but also I'm going to just show you some clips that in general, right off the bat, like while she's waiting for people to come in, it's very clear that homegirl is high as a kite, and that she can't seem to stay awake, which is like her prerogative, and that's also going to be a theme for me throughout this, okay? Like, it's her prerogative to do drugs that are legal within the country of Canada. That's her prerogative, but she does seem to be high as a kite, like barely able to stay awake.
Hi guys, you came back, yes? Hmm. You scared me, woman. I scared you.
So once enough people come into the stream, she does eventually tell the story about what happened. She starts off by talking about like what the management company of her apartment building complex has done in recent history.
Somebody, some crazy obsessed person was like, I kind of expected, like, apparently, like, so what happened was our, I don't know if you'd call it, like, not landlord, but like somebody from the company where we rent from came over, and like, I know the girl well, and she's like a while ago she had emailed me expressing concern because some crazy person was like emailing the building management, which was like she works for that, like saying like our house is messy and like this person's a YouTuber, she's crazy, blah blah blah. Anyway, and she's like, some of the emails were so awful, like bullying and whatever. So I'm like, yeah, I know. So they offered us like to move into like a different condo. They were like building like new condos downtown, and we were like gonna move in one, but I'm like, you know what? I like where we live, so.
Which, like, to me is honestly a lot. I mean, I'm gonna get into some more lengthy opinions later in the video, but, like, it feels like a lot for somebody to take it upon themselves to contact the management company of her apartment complex. It seems like her apartment complex is very nice, very willing. Like, she also mentions that they even let her or offer her an option to move into a different space to kind of help with the doxing issues. But she ultimately is like, I'm not going to do that. I like my apartment space, which is also her prerogative. So then she also, though, talks about what happened with, like, the actual cops coming. And that started also with her apartment management saying, like, hey, like, I guess earlier in the day they had come and said, like, hey, people are emailing us concerned about your well-being, saying you're doing drugs.
Somebody was, like, saying they were gonna, like, they were concerned for you. Like, you were on drugs on a live stream and you were, like, you were gonna die. You were, like, passing out and dying and shit or something stupid. I was like, what? Oh my god. So I'm like, as you can see, I'm perfectly fine. I'm like, go look around the house, and our house is, like, really clean right now. So she's like, oh my god. So I said, I'm like, some people are just like you. So then she's like, well, they said they were gonna call the cops because they're concerned that you're in here doing drugs and stuff like that. I said, yeah, I do drugs. So I do legal drugs. I do edibles. And she's like, oh, well, whatever. You know, what can they do about it? Fuck, nothing. You're wasting people's time, man.
And I guess that escalated because the person who reached out to them said, like, if you don't do something about this, I'm going to call the cops. And then she lets us know that the cops were indeed called.
Oh, tonight, yeah, so the cops came. The cops come. And I'm high like this, like fucking hamburger-eyed, cotton mouth, and I'm like, yeah? You know, like what? So then, he's like, we just got a call for a wellness check. I'm like, here we go. Like, this happens to YouTubers. This is waste of fucking time and resources. So then I'm just like, yeah. So he's like, yeah. Then they're like, I don't even know what fucking, I wasn't half paying attention.
Which I think is like, I don't know, again, we're gonna talk about some more of my thoughts about all of that in a little bit, but I think maybe there was concerns for the cops to be there, maybe there weren't. Chantal does go on to say that she like openly shares with the cops that she is high on edibles and that the cops told her this.
That you're doing drugs. He's like, what you have a right to do? So listen to this. Apparently, even if I said, yeah, I do drugs, I said I'm doing edibles. Do you want to see them? Like, it's legal. I said I'm high right now. And then he's like, even if you do non-legal drugs, like even if you're doing like something else, you have I can't do anything. You're in your home, So there you go. You can't tattletale on somebody for doing drugs in their fucking house.
Which, like, regardless of whether or not there was a need for the cops to be there or not, like, I do have questions about whether or not the cops would actually care if you were doing illegal substances in your home. Like, again, I don't know the laws, the context, etc. of what goes on in Canada. So my context is purely based in what happens in the United States of America, but certainly if you're doing illegal substances, I do think that the cops would probably care about that, whether that's right or wrong or whoever or whatever in between. Like, I think the cops would care if you were doing like lines of coke in your apartment, but I don't really know what's going on in Canada like that, so I could be wrong about that. The only other thing that I'm gonna point out of note that happened in this Beeson live stream is that she did say that they also came because somebody said that she was driving under the influence. And then she said, but where's your proof of that?
Oh, about driving under the influence. What? And your proof is what? You have no proof.
Again, I think it's like there's probably some room for question about whether or not it was appropriate to call for that specific reason when it's clear that she hadn't been driving under the influence, at least for like the 3 hours of the live stream leading up to getting the knock at the door, right? I think that there's maybe something to be said about all of that. But there's certainly a lot of evidence that points towards like maybe you have driven under the influence of some kind of substance, Miss Chantal.
I don't drive while on edibles. No, I don't. For real, all this time I don't. I mean, you get really baked. Like, you see me most of the time when I'm on edibles.
So now that we kind of covered what happened, I do just want to take a little bit of time to talk about like my thoughts, my feelings about all of this. And I think it leads to a larger conversation about why maybe Chantal should start moving away from live streams and like how doing live streams is not only hurting her channel, but hurting herself. But I first want to talk about like this concept of people taking it upon themselves to interfere with the lives of like public figures on the internet, especially like YouTubers that in the grand scheme of things are not like super famous, but obviously she is famous to the people, to the thousands of people who do watch her. In general, I think it's kind of shitty to reach out to a YouTuber's apartment complex to let them know that you think that they're destroying their apartments and things like that, because the reality is that apartment complexes have methods for going through once a person's lease is over and assessing damages and charging those damages and things like that. Like, yeah, I'm sure they probably think it's shitty that there's trash all over Chantal's apartment and whoever, whatever. But like these places have systems set up to take care of that without like bystanders on the internet like jumping in and contacting them and things like that. I also think, and this might not be as popular of an opinion, but I do think it's like shitty to call the police on somebody you don't even know in real life and try to get them in trouble. Hey everybody, Editing Zach here. I just want to provide a clarification that I'm specifically talking about this situation with Chantal doing drugs as opposed to other situations where, you know, people might actually be in danger of harming themselves or other people. I mean, there's probably a lot of nuance to these situations, and obviously there's situations like Shani for Christ where she's putting her kids in danger. It's nuanced, but for this specific thing where she's just doing drugs, like, that's the context for this conversation. I just wanted to make sure that was clear. Honestly, I don't think that this is a good example of like swatting. So if you don't know what swatting is, like swatting is a thing that happens to public figures on the internet, particularly people who live stream, where somebody phones in a prank call to a police officer or a police department saying like, they need to do a wellness check on this person, and then the cops show up, usually with lots of people, and interrupts live streams because they are doing a wellness check. A lot of times this can be potentially dangerous. It could potentially lead to like bad things happening to the streamers, and it's usually just done to troll. Now this is a little bit different than that because I think an argument could be made, well, she's like doing drugs on camera, even though I believe edibles are actually legal where she's at. And certainly I'm not passing judgment on her for doing legal edibles or marijuana or things like that. I live in Illinois where those things are legalized. I have partaken in those things in my past. I don't do them often because it's not really my gig. I would be a major hypocrite if I'm like, Chantal's a bad person because she did 4 marijuanas. Okay, like that's not something we're gonna do here today. With that being said, I think that if a person truly was concerned about Chantal doing all of those things, like you don't have to do, you didn't have to call the police while she was on a live stream, right? Like to me that seems to be somebody that's like looking to cause a scene as opposed to somebody who's actually genuinely concerned about her use of drugs or her well-being or whoever, whatever. Especially considering, like, I know I joked about how she streams 24 hours a day, but there are plenty hours of the day where she's not on camera where you could call and express your concerns about her doing those things. Either way, like, she has documented all of this behavior at this point that, like, there are ways that if she really is doing something wrong, that people can hold her accountable. And I think it's like really crummy and shitty to do this to her while she's live streaming. I think that can probably be a very scary thing. And honestly, the point of this is not me like defending her. I just want to be clear. Like, I think she, and I have said as much, has done a lot of abhorrent things on the internet. Okay, so let's just be clear about that. But I'm just saying, like, I think there are other ways to go about it without, like, putting people in compromising situations like this. Now, it does lead me, though, to say that part of this responsibility comes to her. Like, the thing is that people wouldn't even know where she lives if she wasn't constantly live streaming, and that includes, like, her live streaming her GPS showing the way how to get back to her home from different places while she's out and about driving around. So, like, to some extent, she needs to be more thoughtful, like, for better or worse. And I don't want to blame her, but also, like, people only know about where she lives because she put that information out on her own. And she even admitted in this Beeson live stream that she needs to be more careful in the future.
Fun. I have to be more careful, and I will be.
So I think that is what leads me to believe that, like, live streaming is probably something she needs to do less of. Like, honestly, truly, I mean, even if it just comes down to her own, like, safety and well-being, like, this is just another sign of many signs that like people have learned so much about her like actual real life like they've learned about where she lives. They've full on like doxed her Coca-Cola man. People know so much about him that like she's putting all of this personal information out because she's doing all of these live streams. She's not watching the live streams back, and then she's keeping all of this information up and out there for people to come and access and do. And it's interesting because she used to do live streams all the time where she would get angry and she would delete them. And so I'm just like curious about what the change is. And the only change for me is that back when she used to delete the live streams all the time, she was also making regular content. And now, because she's not making regular content, she relies on these live streams to be her content and to make the money off of them. And so if she did go back and delete all of these, then she wouldn't be getting any kind of revenue outside of the memberships. And while we're here talking about memberships, I do want to say this might be an unpopular opinion as well, but I think memberships are one of the best things that happen to her, one of the best things for her channel, because that is a consistent income that she's going to be making outside of like people deciding to unsubscribe or maybe if she gets more subscriptions in one month than others. Like outside of that fluctuation, like that is a more secure, like consistent income than anything. And it's not hard for her to stick to. Literally all she has to do is at least occasionally do a members only chat live stream where they can talk to her. Now, I think what she would be better off doing is doing an occasional live stream, kind of like how Amber Lynn is doing it, but then also putting out the content that she normally does, like mukbangs and things like that. Because honestly, if you look at the views, and like maybe she's happy with her views and that's great, but she used to get like at a minimum 30 to 40,000 views on like her regular content, mukbangs and everything. And most of her live streams these days, the good ones, I mean like this one where the cops came in, it's up to 20,000 views because literally I think people saw on the internet that the cops came, and so they're like, oh, I gotta go see what's up with that. But then like a lot of these, she has several under 10,000 views. She's streaming like 8 times a day, and nobody's gonna go back and watch all of those, right? Like not everybody is gonna go watch them. So it makes sense that instead of watching her, people are going to reaction channels who are going through, editing the streams and saying, here's what you missed on Glee. Like, it makes sense that people are no longer like sitting through her long ass live streams that she does 8 times a day, and instead they're getting that info from other places and other sources. And I mean, for context, like I literally took a week off, right? I talked about this a little bit already, but I literally took a week off from posting content. And if I had wanted to cover like or catch up on what I missed, like literally I'm just looking at her page right now, and in the past week she's done at least, wait, how many is this? Like I would say at least like 50 streams in the past week. At least 50 in the past week. How am I supposed to go catch up on 50 streams that I missed? So if you're like me, I mean like I literally am constantly watching YouTube on a regular week, okay? So I probably could keep up with a lot of that normally. If you're a person that's out here working a 9-to-5 job every day, spending time with your friends, spending time with your loved ones, your family, having a social life, I mean, being just like, I don't know, the average Joe, like you're probably not going to be able to keep up with that. And for the most part, that's probably okay, because the gist that I get these days is that we're on the same story, repeat. It's almost like a new Chantal cycle where she like does edibles in one stream, shit talks Coca-Cola man in another stream, is back with Coca-Cola man in another stream, and then rinse, lather, repeat. So like you're probably not really missing that much. But then occasionally things like this happen where the cops get called, and so then you just rely on reaction channels to tell you that this thing happened, you know? So I think, like, honestly, if she wants to, I mean, this seems to be working for her now. Like, as long as her bills are paid and she pays her bills, you know, as long as those things happen, then, like, good for her. I'm glad it's working out for her. But I think in the long term of, like, is her channel growing? Is she going to be able to make this be sustainable? I don't know. Like, I really don't. Like, her subscribers have been kind of stagnant, and I think she could gain more. Like, it's really hard to jump in at this point, right? Like, it's really hard to suddenly jump in, subscribe to her, and know what's going on when there's 50 live streams a week. How are you going to just, as a new person to her channel, jump in, decide you like her content, and keep up with her? You're not going to. You're really not. Whereas if she was putting out occasional regular content, or if the live streams were more rare, okay, where if they were like a twice a week thing like Amber Lynn's doing, I think she could be more successful. Like right now, this feels like a big supply versus demand thing, right? Where there's ton of supply and like no demand, no demand whatsoever. And at some point you gotta balance those things out because this is too much. I also think it's probably important to note that, like, in a lot of her streams, she's also just being kind of nasty to people sometimes. Like, it especially happens at the beginning of streams where she's like, I just need more people here so that I can tell the story. I don't want to have to repeat myself multiple times. And it's just like, girl, these are literally people paying you. like, I would not bite the hand that feeds me. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. That's her own prerogative, I guess. Like, these people are still paying her from what I can tell. I will say I did have a membership whenever she first came out because I was like, oh, like, at the time I thought it was going to be like private live streams that only members could see, and I wanted to be able to continue seeing them. When I found out it was just like getting to comment in the chat, and then I realized I'm blocked, so she's not going to see my comments regardless, I ended up canceling that subscription. But, you know, people are continuing to pay to do this, even when she's maybe not always the nicest to her. So I guess that's kind of on them. But I don't know. Let me know your thoughts down below. You're obviously welcome to disagree with me. I know I said a few things that might be controversial in the foodie booty community. So, you know, you're welcome to disagree with me. I just wanted to let you all know what happened and give you all my thoughts about it. I hope you all found this to be an informative video. If you did and it's your first time watching me, make sure to subscribe down below if you haven't already, and click the bell button so you get some notifications. Also, please leave me some comments, hit like, and click share with anybody you think might enjoy this video. And as always, make sure to follow me on all of my social media. I go live on Twitch all the time, so go find me there as well. I hope you all had fun today. I surely did, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!